Hello my loves, I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you so much for being on my channel where we are talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. And I wanted to make this video about why what people are, healthy people get in narcissistic relationships, because the story that's commonly told about it's just codependence. By the way, most people on the planet have some level of codependency. People who've been abused, people who've grown up with narcissists, it's just not true. I happened to have realised, because I understood narcissism much later in life, that I was raised in a narcissistically abusive relationship, but I'd done so much healing. I'd had a 7-year relationship that was really healthy. I'd started and run a successful business, that I'd opened and moved countries. That's not a weak, unindependent, unhealed person. It wasn't my pattern to be in narcissistically abusive relationships. Once I'd done that initial healing, I didn't know what narcissism was though, right? So I knew my parents were abusive and there was some bad patterning. I did not know what a narcissist was until recently in my life, in the context of it. If I had known then I'd have seen it straight away and not get back into cycles. So people that are more codependent, have got childhood wounding, a higher empathy, are whatever it is their vulnerability, are potentially more susceptible. But if a narcissist wants to target you, they're very good at finding what your vulnerabilities are, and every human has vulnerabilities, right? In war, prisoners are given sometimes emotional kind of war, gaslit and emotionally brought down. This is like very, very difficult for the human being, psychological warfare. And that's what you go through when you're gaslit by a narcissist. Your complete concept of reality is being shook to the ground, because some of them are so good at what they do. So by the time I'd got in this round of narcissistic abuse, I've always been well versed in psychology. I studied it as an undergrad. I'd done a lot of personal development. I had no idea about evil. I had no idea about demons and narcissists. None. That hadn't occurred to me. So I didn't know the sequence and the patterning. When you know about narcissism, it all falls into place. When you don't recognize it, and you don't understand the cycle of it, because when you meet a narcissist, so when a narcissist targets what we would call a healthy person who hasn't got a lot of codependency, hasn't been in an abusive childhood, isn't like at the higher risk factor that people seem to think would make them an easier prey, they will know how to manipulate that person. They'll hook them in the love bomb, selling them a dream, selling them a future, an illusion of what they want to be. Everybody has wants, needs and desires, right? So the hook that the narcissist hooks you on is your future that you want with them. They will be everything you want them to be. They work in the psychic realm. So they telepathically, intuitively know, and they know how to project. They know what your unmet needs are. Some of those unmet needs will be from childhood wounds. Some of them will just be that you want a partner to be a partner in life. The human needs, right? So everyone falls prey to this. It is not the story of just insecure, vulnerable, unconfident, and please do not even say this, it's something to do with people's intelligence. It is not at all. It is not at all. You can be highly emotionally intelligent. Many people who've studied narcissists, many high up practitioners can still get duped by narcissists. Many therapists do. You're dealing with a master manipulator who acts in ways that are so anti-intuitive to the human being, because they're so strategic. They know they have an agenda in everything they do. You see, and that's what I was saying in the earlier video about the mistake we make with them, because they seem like they want instant gratification to some people because they're empty. They're just a void that wants to fill it up with bits of supply. But with a narcissist, they'll play a long game, And so a lot of people will say, especially people who haven't got any of these vulnerabilities, will say, well, I thought he really cared, because she, whatever, they waited a long time, they courted me a long time, it took us a long time to get married, and it takes a long time for the master drop. Just because it's a long time for another human being who would, court you for a long time, put the effort in and wait for you. For the narcissist, they've always got supply on the side. They'll play a long game. They'll play a long game. They will get married and still continue with other sources of supply. They have no integrity whatsoever. All they care about is what they want, and they love the power and control of getting one over on you. And if you're intelligent and you seem balanced, which, by the way, when I came out to the States, I was, you're an even juicier target because they're sickos. The ones gosh, were they? I've never seen anything like the narcissists I got involved with. They were just more malicious and more schematic. The scheming, behind it was next level, right? Because that's what they do. They plot, they plan, they get off of it. I said in the last video about when I met him, he was a guy I worked with very shortly because I realised who he was. But when he slipped out how he cheated on his girlfriend with a lot of her friends, he was proud of it. He was bragging about it. This is the sickness of them. So when you catch them in a scheme, they normally get off on it. They actually are proud of it. They get annoyed if there's a consequence to them getting caught. They have zero remorse for what they do. So when you don't understand narcissism, understand that there are predators on the planet and it is getting a bit out of hand because there's been a lack of awareness to it. And they will target anyone who has what they want. If you've got something they want now, what they want from you varies. Some people, everything is a scheme. Some people, what they want is to engage them as a flying monkey. A flying monkey or an enabler, someone who will hold up the narcissist's image. And you'll notice this, that they'll do things for people, they'll show up very differently around their victims and their kind of enablers and flying monkeys, because their flying monkeys and enablers will fight for them and hold up the illusion for them. They will treat these people so differently to how they treat you, because those people are responsible for keeping the image and projecting and, knowing the narcissist in a certain way that makes them look good. And for the person they're abusing, the behaviour is completely different. This is why please don't be in any confusion whether they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. They see your pain. They know good behaviour. They're great at it in the love bomb stage, and they'll play a very long game in the love bomb until they get you in a trap, whether that is you've got married, you've bought a house, you've started a family. Until you're trapped enough, the mask doesn't fully drop, right? I had a friend, I'll tell you an example, high up lawyer, senior lawyer. She married, this is before I knew about narcissism, before I moved countries. She married another senior lawyer. They were the hottest couple, both very attractive. He was very, great reputations. Both of them seemed like, she was actually solid. He seemed like an upstanding man. Good values, great job. Very shortly after the marriage, and she's hooked, there's a lot of domestic violence going on. He's a narcissist. Right? I didn't know about it then. But for her to talk about it, it took a long time because she was very ashamed. And it was, again, it's the shock of how do I put these two people together when the mask dropped, right? The behaviour he does outside when he's this lovely, upstanding member of community, what's going on behind the scenes is two different things. So she's a highly intelligent woman. Highly intelligent, independent, came from a good family. But you get isolated in these relationships because embarrassment, shame. The narcissist is a master manipulator. So they fill your head with all sorts of confusion about your family. They do the triangulation, which is they set scenarios up. They set people up against each other, and they will make sure they cause problems with you and your inner circle if you've got close friends and family around you. Now, I was vulnerable for other reasons because I'd moved countries. I had no immediate family. I was making new friends, so I didn't have a support system around me and people that I'd known me for a long time that could, that I could sort of rely on. So I had other vulnerabilities, but they're not always childhood wounds. They're not always every human being's codependent. Children are born codependent. And most relationships, people are living in a level of codependency and they're learning to navigate that healthily, right? So being codependent isn't is such a disaster, it's just like your level of neediness on one level in a relationship that you work on over time, and you realise where it's healthy and where it's maybe getting a bit out of hand. But like, it doesn't, being in an abused childhood, being in an abused household can normalise abuse to you. So for me personally, I probably did tolerate some of these characters, because if a figure of authority talks to you like your parent would have done, there's a bit of our brain that goes into submission with any authority figure, right? This has been proven in psychology that it's quite surprising what any human will do. Healthy humans, mentally healthy, mentally completely stable, will do when someone pretends to be in a position of authority. They've got people to do really, really like crazy things when they think an authority figure is talking to them. So when someone talks to you like your parent would have done and it resonates, often human beings will go into submission. So because I'd been used to those energies, I was likely more submissive to them. That definitely exists. But like, it's not the only reason, it's layered, you see. The thing we've got to get so clear on is the predator is the problem. If we can please know what this is, we would do so much better in this situation, because the amount of healing and recovery people are in, the amount of damage that occurs in their life, if they knew what it was to start with, it would have been a quick thing. It wouldn't have been that hard, They would have known. It is so startling obvious when you see the sequence and what you're looking for. And you'd know better questions to ask, better things to look for, you see, because you go down such a rabbit hole with a narcissist. This is the challenge. It's sticky. You're in a trap. It's gone on for a long time. You often have gone through, isolated. You've been heavily gaslit. When you erode a human's mental state, and again, narcissist doesn't do this on day one. It's subtle, it's slow, it's over time. It chips away at you, chips away at you, chips away at you, chips away at you, right? And then you're questioning everything. Your whole reality is being distorted. They're master manipulators. It's the same tactic that happens in war camps to people when they want to break them down slowly over time. The narcissist will play a very long game. Don't underestimate it. A very long game. So, no, health, it is not so proportionate as you would think to whatever state you were in at all. The challenge is we don't understand what this is. That's the biggest challenge. They will go for anyone who's got what they want. Now, less likely are some people to buy it, but don't make any mistake. There are some king demons on this planet. I've met them. There are some very, very clever, intelligent, seemingly like benevolent people who are something very different behind the scenes. I've had the displeasure of finding that out. People that you think are charitable, socially conscious, living, breathing values. You might have seen this in religious institutions who are not at all who they say they are. But there's a lot of, but it's a kind of twilight zone when you see it with someone. It's such a shock because a lot of them have got their little armies of enablers and flying monkeys projecting an image, and you can't believe it when you see it. So no, they're masterful at this. They set it up. They are so strategic. They have set up a spider's web, some of them, of all these things that it reinforce their fake image. It's mind-blowing how they can be that strategic. Trust me, they are. Now, luckily, there are some that are not that good at that part of it, which means that they're easier to spot because, well, they haven't got the infrastructure. But they're like a spider making a web. Their infrastructure is massive. Even the way they hook the old supply, if you've not seen that, I've had that with narcissists thinking, oh, they must be really nice. They're still friends with all their exes. Oh no, they're a narcissist with all the people that are trauma bonded that can't get off the hook. It's not always as it seems, guys. Nor is, and we've got to be really clear on this, nor is thinking that because someone's been through an abuse cycle, they are some kind of weak individual. No, they're probably someone with a big heart. Nor is seeing someone whose life's been ruined and deciding there's something wrong with them, rather than listening and realizing they may have been victimized and the victim and target of some extreme bullying and manipulation and basic erosion of self by one of these predators, right? We've got to see things for what they are and stop this narrative of assuming there's something wrong with the person it's happened to. I'm pretty sure the narcissists have put that into the mainstream because it is not the truth. It's not the truth when you look at the clinical stuff. It's not the truth. In fact, it's the wrong way around. That's what I talk about on the channel all the time. It's why I won't go on about them. I go on about us and how we change our behaviour and what to look for and what we go through, right? Because there is too much focus on what's wrong with the victim when the biggest thing that's wrong on the planet is the narcissist and what's wrong with them. Lots of love, guys. I'll speak to you soon.